The Tower of London today is considered a brutal and infamous prison, where two of Henry VIII's wives were executed, losing their heads. Also another queen, Lady Jane Grey, will lose her head there during the reign of Mary I, and it was a place that during the Tudor period transitioned from being a royal fortress to a terrifying prison, where torture was administered. Many people found themselves there for a short period of time, before they were either sent to other prisons such as Newgate or the Clink, or they were sent to Tower Hill, where they had a date with the executioner. But there was one man who was imprisoned at the Tower for an immense amount of time, and he became the longest-serving prisoner in the almost 1,000-year history of the fortress. William de la Pole was imprisoned for a huge period of 37 years inside the Tower, but what is his story? Welcome to Learn With Me. Join us today as we look at the history of the Tower of London and the Tower of London's longest-serving prisoner. To support our channel as always, please make sure to subscribe. Sir William de la Pole was an English nobleman, and he was born into a rather prominent medieval and Tudor family. He was the son of the second Duke of Suffolk, John de la Pole, and Elizabeth Plantagenet, who was also known as Elizabeth of York. His mother was the sister of two of England's kings, Edward IV and Richard III, who led the House of York during the Wars of the Roses. But with this, William had royal blood, and was in the line of succession to the English crown through his mother. But many people would interpret this as a good thing today, but during the Tudor period in the 15th century it was certainly not. To possess just a drop of royal blood could be something that you would lose your head for, as prominent kings and queens who had taken the throne hated being undermined and considered illegitimate. Royal blood served as a threat to the kings and queens at the time, and especially during the Wars of the Roses and the early foundations of the Tudor period, which was a worrying thing. Around 1497, William de la Pole married Catherine Staunton, the daughter of the second Baron Staunton, and they had no children. Catherine, his wife, was already widowed and was 42 when they married, 20 years older than William. Their marriage was one which was financial, as her second husband, Lord Grey, of Codner, then left his property and land, and William seized this. He was also a brother to the first Earl of Lincoln, the third Duke of Suffolk, and Richard de la Pole, and it shows you how linked to the English nobility he was. But as a nephew of King Edward IV, he had a stronger claim to the throne than Henry Tudor would. Henry Tudor would later defeat William's other uncle Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field, and with this he was crowned King Henry VII. But William then had a claim to the throne, and he served as a threat to the new Tudor king. William himself had no ambition to take the throne, and he did not serve as a threat at all. His brothers were different, as they wanted to oust the new Tudor king, and they would try and create rebellions. But William was different, and it's believed he just wanted to get on in life. But Henry VII could not trust him because of his heritage and ancestry, and the de la Pole brothers did begin to plot, and the scheme was discovered in 1501, but William was then arrested too. He was then imprisoned at the Tower of London, which would later become a terrifying site of execution and torture during the reign of King Henry VIII, Henry VII's son. But at this time it was still being used during Henry VII's reign as a royal fortress, and it would be the place where Elizabeth of York, the king's beloved wife, would pass away. But the years would pass with William de la Pole imprisoned at the Tower. The phrase "lock him up and throw away the key" comes to mind, as he would eventually become the Tower of London's longest-serving prisoner, and the only thing that would stop his incarceration was his death. He would be there as Henry VII died, and would remain there during the reign of Henry VIII when he came onto the throne. The new king decided it was the best place to leave him, and the brothers did manage to escape England, but William did not flee. Before his imprisonment he remained to live in England, showing that he probably wasn't being involved in a plot, and this can be believed that he was innocent. But there was no escape for him. Henry VIII would later execute anyone who it's believed was a threat to his reign, with links to the throne, but Sir William de la Pole would live through most of his reign. Whilst prisoners came and go and queens lost their heads there, he was a constant. In fact, he was still a prisoner when Anne Boleyn was executed, and may have heard the gasps of the crowd when the French swordsman took her head in one swift blow. However, around October and November 1539, Sir William de la Pole became ill, and his long incarceration of 37 years did not help his health. It's believed he died from dysentery or some other illness contracted at the Tower, but when he died he was in his 60s, which was considered to be a good age for the Tudor times. but today he's remembered for being the longest-serving prisoner of the Tower of London, and he was there for almost 4 decades, held inside the same walls. Henry VIII would let him rot, and would not take any chances about his intentions, and it shows you how the Tudors deemed him to be a dangerous threat to their legitimacy on the throne. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks again for watching.